I'm Joseph,
And I'm Nick.
and this is Fish Jelly.
Yes, sir, it is.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay. Uh, I thought I would just talk about it quickly because people asked about the Love is Blind season 4. I
Oh,
did,
you're jumping right in.
well,
Okay.
I did finish it and I watched the reunion. There's no point trying to talk about it at length because if people didn't watch it, it would be boring. But you watched a bit of it as well.
Yes, I was present for some of that.
What were my thoughts? First off, I hate those metal goblets and wine glasses they drink from.
Yeah, those are terrible, and they're in almost every scene.
And I a few years ago ordered a set
Hmm.
because I just thought they looked cool and I had never drank from one. And I hated it.
They changed the taste of the wine.
They changed the taste of whatever's in the cup. Yeah,
Mhm.
I hated them. I hated them.
They ionize your libations.
Then if the show I think the production of the show is pretty poor. Like it looks cheap and slapshot, and I hated the interior design of every structure they were in, the pods, um, the couples once they decide because they get a set period. For people who don't know, this show is a group of men and women are participating in an experiment, they like to call it, where they go on dates where they can't see the other person. They're just talking to them in these pods. And then after a period of time, they have to decide if they want to propose to someone. And if they do, then they spend another 4 weeks together, living together, building up to their wedding date. And then on the wedding day, they decide if they're going to say, I do. So,
Full of an experiment with a flawed design.
oh, yeah. I mean, this is not science at all. Well, the biggest problem is that, the essence, I think, of the scientific method is like transparency and data. And because this is so highly edited,
Hmm.
we don't know what went down. There are like, we only end up dealing with maybe like a dozen or so of the people who participated, but there are a lot of people on the show initially, and we don't see everyone's interactions. It's very much curated to push a specific storyline. But so I think, yeah, I think the production is poor. And what really sets me off is every location. It doesn't matter if they're in the pods, someone's apartment, like they're having like drinks at like a lounge. They're all holding these gold goblets.
Yeah, it's
So it
odd.
just adds to how fake everything is. And all the restaurants and bars they sit in, I know like most reality, any show they have to get permission to film there. So it's never spontaneous. But at least like when you watch Real Housewives, it does look like that's a real restaurant you and I could go to and eat. The places that these people on Love is Blind are going to look like it's like a half-built soundstage that they're sitting in. It looks so cheap. But aside from that, yeah, I mean, there's no point going into the specific people, but it is fascinating listening to people try to rationalize something that seems so. The idea of people falling in love quickly, I don't think is ridiculous, but forcing people to decide after 30 days.
Well, there's another agenda going on. The longer you say you're in love, the longer you're on TV.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
biggest
So,
flaw of the experiment is that there's an incentive, right?
mhm.
Because I'm assuming all of these dum-dums want to be famous and have some exposure. So, yeah, if you commit to something, you get more camera time.
Mhm.
So, I I think now we did end the show with 4 because there are 12 episodes, I believe, plus the reunion. So the final episode, well, it's actually the final 2 episodes are all the weddings. So we ended up with 4 pairs getting married. And of the 4, 3 of them went through with it. One couple didn't. But yeah, it's like because I think the reality because a couple of couples, yeah, 2 of them didn't. Well, I guess 3 didn't, but then one of them ended up reconnecting with a different person halfway through and then ended up getting married. But I feel like for the ones who didn't get married, they knew upon sight. Like once it's revealed what the person you proposed to looks like,
Mhm.
I feel like they knew this was not going to work.
Right.
But then they still go through with it. That's the part that bothers me. You knew when you saw that man, you didn't like him.
I mean, it's not unlike me, connecting with someone online per se, and then when you meet them and it's like, "Ooh, this energy is caca."
Yeah, and in
Like,
real life, people know instantly,
you
like,
know
"Oh, I
right
don't
away.
like you." So, yeah, it just feels that's the part that feels fake, like, everyone has experience interacting with people online,
Yep,
and then
yep.
you meet them and you know instantly, so then it's like, how are these people doing it for 30 days? And they're living together. So, but it's fun to scream at the screen, and people are annoying, and this season, there was a villain, her name was Irina.
Oh, yeah. Well, she just
And
yeah.
she I mean, I just don't understand. I don't know how much money I would have to make to I mean, I'm sure people think I'm a fool now watching me on YouTube and listening to me on the podcast, but, like, I don't know what it would take for me to get on a show and have that kind of exposure, like, negative exposure.
Mhm.
Like, what is that worth to her? I don't know what she's I mean, she can maybe parlay that into a few of appearance fees that
Well
might last the next 3, 4, 5 months
for some reason, I remember her name, but with Erica from season 1, the 34-year-old.
from Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are people from reality shows who get burned into our brain, but not for good reasons.
No, but, again, did that help her out
Well,
at
yeah,
all?
that's my question. I don't know. I wouldn't that lady you referred to, I know she had to quit her job and
Mhm.
because of negative reception, but yeah, I don't know what it would take. I could I can't see myself doing it for a number of obvious reasons, but I think if your intention is to go on and have fun and you are a likable person and people seem to enjoy your energy, then I think it could be a fun experiment that 30 years from now would be a fond memory. But for some of these people, it's like, God, you look like such a clown. The one guy, Zach, who's the lawyer, it's like like you are actually like a public figure. Like people will be working with you. I mean, that's your career that and if people recognize you, like I wouldn't even one of the contestants said, I wouldn't hire him as my lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't hire that man as my lawyer. He seems like a weirdo. So, I mean, that's affecting your career.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, most of them, with the exception of the one couple that seems like, oh, that's I guess
Brett and Tiffany.
what I think that looks like, but then they're boring. But
I thought Brett was perfect though. There wasn't a single thing he said or did that I thought was obnoxious. Like he just really seemed like but then like yeah, you're right. It is boring because if everyone were like him, then we'd just be watching some really lovely people fall in love. That's boring. So it does make for good I mean, clearly I watched, damn near 12 hours of a show in like 3 days, but
mhm.
yeah, it is boring. Anyway, I'm sure I'll get roped into like Love is well, with this pattern, I'd probably end up watching Love is Blind season 7. I'll skip 5 and 6 and then
Oh,
just watch 7. You wanted to talk about Can?
oh well, yeah. The program is now complete. With We're told that there are going to be some there's always last minute additions, but for the most part, the program's complete. Um, I guess I saw an article last week where Catherine Corsini was supposed to be part of the lineup, but she was yanked from because there were some sexual assault rumors going on from a young actress on the set. So the Cannes committee wanted to wait to see how that goes. But I thought that was interesting. To usually don't hear about things like that going on a set that was directed by a woman, much less she's an older lesbian.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't necessarily love Catherine Corsini. She's done like 10, 11, 12 movies now. I've seen probably a good deal of them. I really didn't like her last film, The Fracture, which I think won an award, Cannes 2021. But she's a filmmaker of interest. Um, but anyway, she still might show up there, but I'm anticipating a few other interesting additions because there were a lot of people left out of the mix, of course.
Well, you have a list of films. So are these films you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I put together a top 10 list of most anticipated.
Well, go ahead.
Number 10, I have Cobweb by Kim Ji Woon, which I think is part of their midnight section, and it's about a film within a film. I don't think I've seen a film by him I did not like, but so that's exciting to see new work from him. Next, The New Boy, directed by Warwick Thornton. I need to catch up with Warwick's first film, which won the Camera d'Or in 2009, but this one stars Kate Blanchett as a nun, and it's in the uncertain regard section. Next is Kidnapped by Marco Bellocchio. Love Bellocchio. This one is about a true story about a Jewish boy that's kidnapped and forced to turn to Catholicism.
Oh,
um, then I have Bertrand Mandico's latest, She is Conan, which sounds like a very odd take on Conan the Barbarian. You're familiar with Bertrand Mandico. We reviewed his film After Blue, that Planet of Women.
oh, that was a very interesting film aesthetically.
Yes, and his first film I liked a lot too, The Wild Boys. So that's in Director's Fortnight, so I'm excited for that. Next is Killers of the Flower Moon, which I just finished reading that book yesterday.
That could be a Rob Zombie movie.
A great title. God, that was depressing to read, by the way. Just these Osage Indians, all of
Oh,
these.
you read the
I
book
read
this is based on.
all these ladies in the 20s because I told you briefly what it's about is that uh, the Osage Indians had been relocated to, you know, we as a country we gave all the indigenous people like shitty territory we didn't think we wanted, but this ended up being oil rich land,
Oh,
and they
right. Yeah.
became, you know, filthy rich. And how it was worked is the original members of the tribe had something called head rights, and so that they would always just have access to this wealth from the land, right? And so all these white men were marrying these ladies, and then there was this vast conspiracy, intersecting conspiracies that they were just murdering all these people to get their head rights. It's unbelievable reading it. It's
It would I feel like this should be like a series, like on
well,
HBO or something.
apparently it's gonna be Scorsese's longest film, is what I've heard. So I don't
Oh,
know if that's 3 or 4 hours, but I can't wait to see what he's done with it. DiCaprio, I know, stars. But it's just so sad to read. Like all of these ladies married these white men and then had children with them. Anyway, next is Club Zero, directed by Jessica Hausner. Love her. Mia Wasikowska stars. It's I think about a teacher that gets too close to her students or something. But Hausner is a very interesting filmmaker to me. I've also seen all of her films, and I can say all of them are worth checking out. Next is the Turkish filmmaker About Dry Grasses, Nuri Bilge Ceylan, which is probably 3 or 4 hours as well. And all I know it's about a teacher who's trying to relocate to Istanbul from some small town. But he's always an excellent filmmaker. Next is May December from Todd Haynes, which stars Natalie Portman and somebody else that I think I like more. I
is
can't.
that what they call like a younger man, older woman relationship?
Yes, but this is about two women.
Oh,
It's about a younger actress is going to star as an older actress, I think, in a biopic or something, and goes to study her. And so, of course, it sounds like maybe strange Ingmar Bergman things might happen. I don't know. The next one, I'm so excited and happy that Catherine Breillat, her new film last summer, which will probably be her last film, is going to be in competition. She's only been in the Cannes competition once before. Breillat is excellent. I think I made you watch the movie Fat Girl years
hmm.
ago when we first started dating. Oh, and I haven't made you watch Abusive Weakness with Isabelle Huppert. I don't know. She's such a good filmmaker. But this is technically a remake of a Danish film starring Trina Deerholm called Queen of Hearts, and it's an incest movie. I've seen the original at Sundance, so excited to see that. Uh, and then my number one most anticipated film is The Zone of Interest, which I've been waiting for years for it to get made. Jonathan Glazer, who you've seen his films Birth and oh, you haven't seen Under the Skin, which is like that's a perfect film, I'd say.
Hmm.
Sexy Beast. But I've read the book this is based on as well by Martin Amis, and I know that he's made a lot of changes. But Sandra Hüller stars, who is in Tony Erdman. She's in another movie in competition too from Justine Treat, about a woman that's defending herself for being accused of killing her husband. Anyway, it sounds like a very interesting lineup, and I can't wait.
I just noticed on the poll for our next live review, the topic is Michelle Pfeiffer. That Batman Returns is now in the lead.
Oh, see, I anticipated that. That is not what I voted for, but
I was very surprised to see that What Lies Beneath was ahead up until I just checked this morning. So I do want to watch Batman Returns, so I'm happy with
I
that.
would rather watch What Lies Beneath. But I voted for Up Close and Personal.
Do you want to explain what you learned about that movie?
Well,
Because you're reading something.
I finished Killers of the Flower Moon yesterday, and because we talked about doing Michelle Pfeiffer, I've had this book, Monster by John Gregory Dunn, who was married to Joan Didion, and they wrote several films together, and they wrote both, of course, many books. But it's about their experiences writing the script for what would become Up Close and Personal, because technically it was based on the life of this very interesting sounding news journalist who was a coke addict, uh, sad lesbian, uh, sex addict, that had all kinds of married a gay man that killed himself. Like so many, just reading about that woman, there's so many interesting facets. And then Disney bought the rights to it, and then they did something, I think like 27 drafts, and it became this romantic
So Up Close and Personal, we all know is a romantic comedy, but
drama, maybe. But
but really the source is this woman who's has this wild, crazy life, and because Disney was involved, they sanitized it down to. So I mean, that is when you told me that was super interesting, but that doesn't translate to the actual film. So I'm not interested in. I would watch Up Close and Personal, but it the behind the scenes facts are what is
oh
so
yeah, well, after I
interesting.
finish reading it, I'm watching it regardless. But yeah, I would love to watch What Lies Beneath again too.
Anyway, there were a couple of questions. I don't know what I said that prompted this, but someone wanted to know what's up with Nick and laundry. So I'm not sure how to answer that because I don't know what I said.
I think you said something because you don't separate laundry.
No, this was before I said that. I think I honestly don't know what I said to prompt it, so I'm not sure what the answer is, except that you don't seem to like to use liquid detergent anymore. You want to
Mm,
use the pods.
I like pods.
Which I think is funny because for all your life you use liquid, and then
I
now that
know.
there are pods, you whenever like the times I get liquid, you look at me like I'm crazy,
Well,
like you don't know how to use it.
I don't like it. It's messy. It's just
How's it
sticky.
messy?
I don't know.
I've never spilled the liquid detergent.
They're bad for the environment. Technically, we should be using those new sheets that just disintegrates or whatever. But
I mean, sure.
I don't know. I
I
like
looked
pot.
into some sheets and they were expensive, so
I
I
know.
thought, well, if they can get these prices down, maybe I would. But I'm sure I'll get if someone wants to email me a recommendation for those sheets, I would definitely try them. But um yeah. So I don't know what the answer is. And then another question was, do we think once we end up getting like 1 million subscribers, do we think doing the channel would be as fun? And also, do we think having that audience would affect how the show feels? Would it be as fun? Well, I mean,
Well, you
we'd
would
be getting more money, so that would be
you'd be hiring someone to help you.
I would have to get help, yeah, because it's too much for me to do now. So I can't imagine with that number of people because well, the workload would be it's just the level of engagement. Like there's just a lot of
Hmm.
like I'm being engaged in many ways, and like every day there are hundreds of comments, and I feel like I need to go and want to go through them. And yeah, so I'd have to get like more than one person to help me at that point. So then I feel like I'd be pretty disconnected.
I don't think you'd be
I mean,
disconnected.
I can't read all the comments now.
Hmm.
Like it would be impossible because I don't even get the number of like notifications is just overwhelming, and then and that's not even including the replies. So when someone replies to something, like
Hmm.
it's just if I happen to see it, like sometimes I'll look at the comments randomly, but yeah, I think because the fun part is seeing people's comments
Hmm.
because people are funny. Uh, so I think, and then of course there are a lot of negative comments, and the more engagement we get, the more negative comments there are, and that's not fun. So,
Has that have you noticed has that grown as well? Is it
well, yeah, because there are more listeners and more viewers, so there are more nasty comments. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely like directly related or directly proportional to the.
what are the nasty comments usually?
They vary. I mean, it just uh, it's usually like faggot, gay, faggot. What do you know? Like that's a common one. And then anytime you talk about white people, lot
Oh,
like 100% guaranteed. If I say something about white people, then I get comments about that. Even even if I mention white things,
mhm.
like we got nasty comments about me talking about white pumps on the
On
cereal.
Serial Mom?
Yeah. Also, I guess you don't like white people. It's like, what? I mean, literally like stupid comments like that. And then like
That shit is the wind beneath my wings,
maybe
motherfucker.
maybe me, I mean, it's like me being stupid. That's a big one.
Oh god.
So it just, yeah, it but the beauty is I have the ability to like block those people and remove those comments. But
Mhm.
if we had, you know, 10 times the amount of or 100 times the amount of comments, I mean, it just wouldn't be possible.
You
I
would
mean, I guess the assistant could, I could, you know, I'd have to have someone managing social media and the comments, and they would just have to know because I don't like, I, you know, like
you'd hire somebody to be
did,
your
did I mention last week about the Snoop Dogg post?
no, you didn't, but,
I com oh,
you'd hire somebody that whose title would be a hate speak monitor.
yeah, I commented on a Snoop Dogg Instagram post a week or two ago, and I did it like at 3 in the morning. I couldn't sleep, and then
Mhm.
I fell back to sleep, and when I woke up, I had so many notifications of people commenting, and most of them were liking the comment, but a lot of really nasty comments and people reaching out to me like in my DMs. And it was a video he posted of a woman like in another country. She looked like a young black American woman, but she was in another country sitting on a swing, and there's an orangutan that looks like it's clearly been trained to take photos,
Mhm.
but the orangutan is like trying to kiss her and touch her, and then at one point gets behind her and grabs her breast.
Ugh.
So I just commented, the exact words were, "She looks so uncomfortable." That's like that's it.
Pretty innocuous. Mhm.
Oh my god. So many DMs, faggot, faggot, woke, 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 woke. What are you gonna do? Me too, the monkey, woke, woke, faggot, faggot, woke, me too, me too, me too. Like just so many comments. Like, and I was like half asleep. I don't even know why I commented, but the first thing I thought was that young lady looks so uncomfortable
Mhm.
because this big. I mean, monkeys are strong, and the orangutan was not the biggest orangutan you've seen, but it was as big as she is, and it just grabbed her breast. So it's like, I'm sure when she signed up to take the photo, she wasn't thinking this monkey would grab her like that. But yeah, just like the instant, um, it's just so funny because to me it's ironic. Like people seem so sensitive, like they just like hair trigger, they need to respond to something. But then you also act like Billy Badass. And I feel like if you were really that tough,
They're not.
then you wouldn't be so fragile.
Right.
Because if I'm such a punk, I mean, I don't ever respond to anything because it really doesn't. I mean, I think people are lying when they say it doesn't bother them. I just don't see a lot of things. But when I do see things, it's like, oh, well, that sucks. But mainly it sucks because I think like this is why the world is the way it is.
Dumpster fire? Yeah.
Because instead of worrying about things that matter, you want to troll the internet looking for content that is contrary to what you believe to then get mad about it
Uh-huh.
instead of actually doing something that would be beneficial to you.
Mhm.
Like
And positive
like
and
I could create a myriad of things. I could create a list for people just on site. Like maybe you need to start getting healthy and eat vegetables and get that tooth fixed because your breath smells. You probably have cavities and that's why you smell so strong. And like, you know, your kids look dumb. Maybe you should help them learn how to read and write. I don't know. It's just so many things. You're so miserable at your job. Maybe you should try to go back to school and get a new career. I don't know. Like, there's online school now. It's easier. Just so many things people could do that it seems silly to me to not use social media as a form of entertainment. To me, it's just meant to be fun. When I'm on my phone and I'm sitting on the toilet, I'm laughing. I'm just laughing. Like, I think people are funny. There's a lot of funny stuff online.
Mhm.
That's the main purpose for me. And discovering new things I didn't know, like some restaurant or some cool place to visit. I think that should be the main thing when you're on social media, not like,
Oozing hatred.
just
Yeah.
literally from every pore in your body, just mad. And
Mhm.
that seems really unhealthy and unfortunate.
'Cause it is, and, you know what? That's not me, so
But the second part of the question was, would this affect like if we got so much bigger, would it affect the feel of the show? I mean, we already get comments from people, like uh, I don't know if I should give specifics, but like we'll review a movie and then actors from the movie will reach out,
oh
or
my god.
directors, or
Mhm.
people, or you've bumped into people who are like the cinematographer, the editor,
Mhm.
and they're mad. Um, so that already happens. But if we were much bigger and I'm still talking loose and crazy, would I censor myself a little more? Um, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not.
I don't know. I don't think we're censoring. Like, if you watch old Siskel and Ebert, like those two old queens would get into it and be quite disparaging sometimes. I don't know.
Sometimes I say things and I'm like, I mean, I feel like I say things that I would tell the person. Like, your hair was a mess, girl, or it didn't make sense. Like,
Mm.
you know, like that hairdo did not make sense for that role. I mean, I guess I probably wouldn't censor myself too much. I just think that the amount of engagement is overwhelming, so
Well,
that might affect me.
there's a way to be funny without being mean, and I
Sure.
don't think overwhelmingly, I don't think either of us are being malicious or cruel. But I know I've said some things sometimes that are like, oh,
I think sometimes, when you like vehemently dislike something, of course that wouldn't feel good to the entity that created it. But it's also like, I'm just a person giving my opinion.
mhm.
And, you know, of course I wouldn't want to hear someone say to me, the thing you did is crap and I hate it.
We're never just saying that.
But then it's like, but if they told me like I really disliked it for these 6 reasons and how it could have been better, it's like, well, I appreciate someone took the time. I'm not trying to imply these people whose movies we shit on should be like, they should appreciate my opinion, but I do think that it's more palatable when someone actually took the time, because you're expecting me to pay, like, not me, because I don't pay to see movies usually, but like you're expecting the average person to pay their own money to watch your or consume your art. People have a right to give their opinion. Y'all so sensitive, but then if you had a nasty burrito at the restaurant down the corner, you'd be all up and through Yelp with your 1-star review and photographs of the little dry burrito. To me, it's the same thing. Like, you want me to get in my car, spend $40 on movie tickets plus parking and these high ass concessions, and then I don't like it. I'm just supposed to be quiet about it. I don't
Mhm.
know.
That reminded me, I was trying to find it, but um, the director of Sick of Myself, which we reviewed last week. I think I don't know who did the review, but the the director got mad and responded via tweet to this uh, review that said, "Hi, actual writer of the movie here. You're right for the most part, except the struggles to flesh out its themes, which it doesn't. It actually fleshes out all the themes without struggle. Thanks." See, you
Well,
can't do shit like that. Why would you do that?
yeah.
Uh,
But to that person, we did like your movie.
I did, but also, you also have to take into consideration, not that people are lying, but people have to. They're paid. Journalists are paid to say something too, and what there's always room for improvement, and you don't know where somebody's experiences are or taste levels are at, and maybe they just don't align with who you are as an artist either, and who fucking cares?
And not that anyone cares about or should believe me, but I feel like, my opinion is really like authentic because I'm not making, I mean, we do get money, but not from people making the movies. So, like, no one's paying me to be kind about something. And I'm not interested in being mean because I think it's funny. Like,
Right,
I'm literally giving my honest reaction.
right.
And a lot of these people don't. You can tell that they're saying they like, I mean, there's
They're
some critics on YouTube who like
they're
everything.
pussyfooting around it.
And there are a couple of podcasts I listen to because I find them amusing that like everything. And it's like, I don't know if they're afraid to be honest, but I do need to take a quick break. Hold on. Okay, is there more you'd like to say on that topic?
Um, the topic of shitty people, shitty ignorant people.
Oh, God.
No, well, I'd like Judy. I could go on singing, but maybe let's move on.
Films released we didn't cover: Judy Bloom Forever.
Judy Bloom. Um, next week, I'm actually quite excited to see Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. And Judy Bloom was also featured in the Sigourney Weaver film My Salinger Year. But I remember Judy Bloom as a youth reading her books. And there's a new documentary about her, and we did not watch it.
Hmm.
Directed by Davina Pardo and Leah Wolchok.
Plan 75.
Plan 75. I did watch this week, and I didn't get around to writing about it, but debut Hayakawa, which played at Cannes in certain regard. Interesting film. It's kind of a sci-fi movie set in the near distant future about the senior citizens turning 75, and they can opt into this program that's basically assisted suicide because they're a burden on society. And we follow kind of several different people. Uh, and it's not, I kind of wanted it to hit harder, kind of like The Ballad of Narayama, which is a favorite of mine. But it's definitely pretty good for a first film.
Other People's Children.
I did review this for Ion Cinema. It competed in Venice, directed by Rebecca Zlotowski. And what's her name? Virginia Fira is the lead, who gives a good performance. And it's like the title says, it's about a woman falling in love with a man who already has some kids and having to kind of take that into consideration and the added complexities of it.
River.
River is a documentary about rivers, directed by Jennifer Peedham, who directed Sherpa, and Joseph Nizzetti.
I'm laughing because it makes me think of, the podcast Sibling Rivalry with Monet Exchange and Bob, the drag queen.
Sibling Rivalry, yeah.
Yeah, they said that one of their first sort of public things where they did like some convention, they had a sign made, and the word rivalry was misspelled as like rivalry. So for some reason, that's why I was giggling. Somewhere in Queens.
I'm surprised you didn't want to watch this, but Ray Romano directed a film, and it stars himself and Laurie Metcalf.
Because you think I like Ray Romano?
Laurie Metcalf.
I like that scene in Lady Bird where old girl jumps out the car. I mean, and I did watch every episode of Roseanne.
Yeah, you like Roseanne.
Yeah, but I mean,
Laurie Metcalf, who's also
I couldn't even name a movie Laurie Metcalf has been in besides Lady Bird.
Scream 3.
She's in Scream 3?
She's one of the killers, yeah.
Laurie Metcalf?
Or is it Scream 3 or Scream 2?
Oh, I didn't.
It's Scream 2. Sorry, right?
And
yeah.
I watched all those movies like a month ago and I don't remember.
Oh, well, because there are Frivolous.
A Tourist Guide to Love.
Directed by Stephen K. Shishida, starring Rachel Lee Cook, who I don't care for, and I did not watch this.
War of the Worlds: The Attack.
You had said you would be interested in watching this. It's very much, as the title says, is about an alien attack, directed by Junaid Saeed.
If it's streaming, I'd check it out still. Projects of interest. There's a Galaxy Quest series.
Paramount Plus announced they're moving ahead. This was going to move forward in the director, Dean Pariseau, said that they had a 10-episode series that was going to play like a very long film. I think they were all going to go ahead, and then Alan Rickman got up and died. And then, what's his name? Paul Scheer, I think was... Do you remember him talking about that?
Tall Paul Scheer.
Hello, Paul. He was hired to write on that too, but it looks like interest has been revived. No idea if it's got original cast members or whatnot. I don't see how you could revive this without the original cast, but whatever.
Wow. Okay, movies we watch for fun. Oh, but before that, someone just sent me some information that starting on April 27th, McDonald's is going to start offering a new dipping sauce.
Oh, Stop the Track.
And it's going to be the Big Mac sauce.
Okay.
I don't know that I need
Isn't that like Thousand Island dressing?
If you ask me, I would say it's Thousand Island dressing. I don't know that I need that on my fries or chicken McNuggets.
Well, don't cast aspersions on the sauce.
Oh, so you would try it?
I like sauce.
You do. Nick really, really, really likes sauces.
Oh,
and
yes.
Seasoning, and things can't be too dry.
Oh yeah, no, we want moist, spicy things.
Even when it doesn't necessarily make sense, people.
Well, I like... What's that clip of Joan Crawford where she's blind in that Night Gallery episode, and she's like, colors. I'm like that with flavors.
Always trying to jazz everything up.
Jazz it up.
I don't know what things actually taste like anymore. I couldn't tell you. If you asked me what eggs taste like, I would say lemon.
Oh.
because I don't know what an egg tastes
I
like.
know it's for a joke for Christmas. My sister bought me a cookbook that's literally called "Just Add Lemon."
Nick adds lemon to everything.
Well, there's no, it doesn't add
And then he
extra.
likes to watch you eat it, like with this look on his face, like those memes on Christmas, like single moms on Christmas watching their kids open the gift, and it's that little boy looking. That's what you look like. Try to see if I can tell that you put cumin in my oatmeal or something.
Cumin is a good one. Lime, dill, because these things don't add extra calories; they add flavor.
hmm Okay, movies for fun. Speaking of strong flavors, Nosferatu in Venice.
Oh my god!
So Klaus Kinski, he did Nosferatu,
Yeah, with Werner Herzog.
which is a classic.
Yeah, oh,
And
yeah.
then you own the disc for Nosferatu in Venice, which is the sequel that was made how many years later?
The sequel was made in '88, so damn near over a decade.
Just to give you a sense of this movie, Christopher Plummer's in it, who I do like.
And Donald Pleasance.
But to give you a sense of the vibe of this movie, Klaus Kinski said, I am not going to wear that Nosferatu makeup again. So he showed up on set, not unlike Marlon Brando in um, The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Yeah,
He had his own thoughts on how he would look.
or in the Missouri Breaks, where one day he's like, "I'm gonna wear a dress."
Not Klaus Kinski showed up in a, like, I don't know how I would call it, like it, it's like a platinum blonde mullet
Mm-hmm.
and no
That's
makeup, no
well,
prosthetics.
no prosthetics. Well, he has teeth.
He does have the vampire teeth. He looks insane. Um, but I really like the vibe of the film. Christopher Plummer basically plays someone who's trying to do research on.
He's been called in by one of the women to help dispatch him, and then Donald Pleasance is a priest that's eating a lot. And then
He is eating a lot.
Vangelis did the score, which I like the score, even though it's used to fill in for, because there were apparently 5 different directors, including Klaus Kinski. So this was a troubled
But wait,
production.
the best part about the soundtrack is in the end credits, it says that the music is inspired by
Vangelis.
Yeah, it's like it's like the music's by Vangelis, inspired by Vangelis.
Yeah.
Excuse me, what?
Okay. Yeah, that was
It was hard to sit through.
it was boring, I
Yeah.
think, but and then it was also alarming once we realized that
Behind the scenes.
2 of the women claimed to be sexually assaulted by him. So those scenes we're watching with him, it's like, oh, he's
And I knew that before we started it, so then it really took away the experience because it felt gross. Like, oh, I
Yes.
bet this is when he was being a creep. And
because one of them ran off the set and didn't come back. But I've read his autobiography, the version that was uncensored, because he was sued by several people and it was taken off the shelves, including by Marlena.
what do you recall in it that was extra juicy?
He he was just crazy. He was the sex addict. I think that his relationship with his daughter Nastasia, who's an actress I really like a lot as well, I think they were weird. He doesn't explicitly say, but it sounds like he was probably molesting his kids. That I just thought there were things he was saying in there that was like, oh, I bet you touched your kids inappropriately. But he is a fascinating film presence, and I usually enjoy watching him. And it reminded me that I haven't seen, because this is his penultimate film. He only did one film after this, which is his notorious Paganini, which he directed, which apparently is, I don't know if it's like 3 or 4 hours, and the producers got mad because it's filled with like pornographic sequences.
Well, I'm not interested. Anyway, we watched Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Yes.
I don't know why you just put it on and then.
Well, I think you were still in your illness era last weekend, and I was like, oh, I remember that this was a favorite of mine from childhood.
It is pretty magical.
It is.
I can imagine being in a theater in 1980, whatever, thinking this is, like quite a ride. And Harrison Ford is
very handsome.
He's very handsome, and Short Round is so cute.
He's so cute.
I hated the main lady,
Kate Capshaw.
Oh my god,
you and my mother.
Jana, I hated that
Oh,
lady.
but her singing in Mandarin to Anything Goes and the opening of the movie is so
All
good.
she does is scream,
She does, yeah.
and she's not cute enough to have that attitude. She really thinks she's something. She's no Michelle Pfeiffer. I don't know why she's acted like that.
Oh.
And then her hair bothered me because she has curly hair. And then in like, because they're in India, right?
Mhm,
Sleeping in a cave, and
mhm.
her hair looks like it's been blown out. And
Yeah.
oh God, I couldn't stand her.
She's no, Karen Allen from the first film, but, I think I have such fond memories of she doesn't bother me, but I thought I think she's supposed to be played to comedic effect, but yeah,
She
she
did not succeed in my book, but I would watch the first one because I
Raiders of the
don't
Lost Ark
remember
is
it.
the best. It's so good.
Anyway, looks and smiles.
Now I'm also in, pre-can mode, so I'm trying to catch up with which I do every year, with past works of people that are in the program that I haven't seen. And Ken Loach, who, he's been directing films since the 60s, and I've seen a lot of his films, and there's a lot I haven't seen. But he directed this film called Looks and Smiles, and it's okay. It's about two young men in Thatcher era England, kind of just realizing that options are very limited for them. What's most notable is that it's written by the same man, I think his name is Barry Hines, who wrote Kess, which is one of Ken Loach's best films about the a little boy's relationship with a kestrel, a falcon.
Manderley.
Manderley, it came up as being available on Mubi, and I'd never seen it, and I'm like, let me watch Lars Van Trier's um, racism movie. Uh,
Oh, that's what I was peeking. Yeah, I was like, I don't know about this.
I think it was not successful, which is it was supposed to be part of a thematic trilogy. The Washingtonian trilogy. I don't remember the name of the trilogy off the top of my head. But started with Dogville, and Nicole Kidman was supposed to be in this movie, and then she dropped out for scheduling conflicts. But I don't. I feel like that's not the reason she dropped out. But I don't know that Bryce Dallas Howard works for me in this film either. But it's got some there are moments where I'm like, oh, this is fascinating, and then there are other moments where it doesn't work whatsoever. Uh, but again, like all of Lars von Trier's films, really interesting to watch. But it reminded me that I probably will do a secret film one day for Dogville because that is one of my favorites.
Hmm. Violent cop.
Yes, Takeshi beat Kitano, his first film. Who's an actor. Um, well, started out as an actor, but has amassed quite a notable filmography as well. This is from 1989, and it's kind of a Dirty Harry style cop movie, and it's interesting. I don't know how involved it is. Somebody else was supposed to direct it. I'm forgetting who, uh, and he kind of took over. But yeah, very if you like him, that's worth starting out on. I've only seen one of his Outrage films. That's a trilogy, and he's got a new film. I forget the name of it. That's I think in the midnight section or something at Cannes. But he has a few films I want to catch up with.
The nanny.
Marco Bellocchio, also filmmaker I love, but a ton of stuff from his past filmography I haven't seen, but this stars Valeria Bruni Tedeschi as it's like turn of the century Rome, and her husband's a doctor, and he hires this woman to uh, nurse the son he just had because his own wife can't. It's like she's not producing milk, and then of course the kind of fallout that happens from those kind of relationships. But it's based on a novella by Pirandello, who Bellocchio has adapted a couple works by that very famous Italian author.
Leningrad Cowboys Go to America.
Okay, Aki Kaurismäki's Leningrad Cowboys.
Aki Kaurismäki.
Yeah,
That's
am
a
I
great
sounding
name.
right? Finnish auteur. He had a trilogy of films about this band called the Leningrad Cowboys. I didn't really care for it. I thought it was kind of boring, and there are two more I have to get through. Thankfully, they're short. Uh, the only thing I enjoyed is seeing very young and handsome Jim Jarmusch in a cameo.
Shadows in Paradise.
Another Aki film. He This is part of his Proletariat trilogy. Um, I really quite enjoyed this film. It's about a garbage man and a sales clerk kind of falling in love in the social context of where they're growing, where they're living. Very odd. It's kind of like a film filled with moments more than it is a narrative. but there's a narrative. I highly enjoyed it.
Blackjack.
Ken Loach film from 1979, which has the feeling of like Mark Twain, kind of. I forget the name of the writer whose book it's based on. Basically, a children's adventure story about this Frenchman who survives being hanged, and the two children that he ends up going kind of on this journey with. It feels a bit meandering, but it's interesting. And when it was re-released, God, a damn near a decade ago, everything that's printed on it is saying, "Oh, it was Wes Anderson's one of his inspirations for Moonrise Kingdom," and I guess I can see that. But that is Blackjack is definitely a different vibe than Moonrise Kingdom overall.
Lastly, Good Morning Night.
Not lastly, because you skipped one, but Bellocchio film about the 1978 kidnapping and assassination of the Italian prime minister, um, which I liked well enough, and I saw Bellocchio did like a 4-part TV series called Eterno Notte, Outside Night, which is dealing with the same exact scenario in '78, but telling it from all kinds of different perspectives, including the prime minister's family, the kidnappers, etc. So that was interesting. Bellocchio likes to kind of take extravagant historical moments from Italy, as his upcoming film is as well. But
And then I skipped Pecker.
John Waters' Pecker, yeah, which I'd never seen, and it's entertaining. It's cute and sweet. Um, I think I'd avoided watching it for so long because I, at least a small handful of people, I think, at one point in my life told me I looked like Edward Furlong, which I hated that. I hated hearing that. So I think I always avoided seeing him. And he looks fine in this movie. It's 1998. And I like Christina Ricci. And Mary Kay Place, as his mother, is very lovely. And it's so sad. You know, she's suffering from dementia now. But yeah, it's worth watching.
All right. Unfortunately, there are entries in the obituary section. Barry Humphries passed away, who most people know as Dame Edna,
Hmm.
the drag performer, or the drag queen, I guess. Well, I don't know if he considered himself a drag queen. I didn't know that Barry Humphries was not gay. I also didn't realize he was Australian. I guess as a kid, I assumed he was British.
We just saw him in a movie we talked about too.
But he passed away from complications from surgery due to a fall he sustained earlier this year. But he was
Oh.
89. Um, I think that was,
Oh, Spice World.
oh, he was in, I think seeing Dame Edna on some variety show in the early 80s was the first time I ever saw someone like that. And I don't know that, I remember being surprised when I realized that Dame Edna is a man.
Mhm,
Like I thought Dame Edna was just like a crazy old lady who,
mhm,
so yeah. But and then there is a documentary you watched out of Sundance called Kokomo City,
mhm,
and one of the subjects in the documentary, her sort of like stage name is Koko the Doll.
mhm.
She was killed last Tuesday.
Yeah.
Her real name, I want to make sure I have that, and I had it here. Rashida Williams. Yeah, she was shot and killed. The director of the documentary, uh, he said that he created the documentary because he wanted to show the fun, humanized, and natural side of Black trans women. I
Mhm,
wanted to create images that didn't show the trauma or the statistics of murder of transgender lives. I watched the documentary with you.
mhm.
I thought it was very good. I think the subjects were captivating.
Yeah.
I While he didn't show imagery of trauma and violence many of these women face, they talk about it a lot.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So it's not void of that. It's actually kind of hard to hear. But I think knowing that this woman was murdered, it's, I mean, it's tragic, but it's more so because, in this documentary, she talks about
Mhm.
violence and kind of always being afraid. And
It's kind of like the feeling of Paris is Burning when it's like by the time it came out, most of these people were dead.
yeah, but I mean, it's, you know, I don't know
Not
how many people have to be the victims of violence before things change. But
Well, a lot has to change, really, is what the problem is. It's just overwhelming because there's so much unhappiness and desperation and hatred and
well, in hearing, I can try to stumble through why I think there's so much violence against trans women, but hearing these women speak for themselves, it's very powerful.
Mhm,
Like, and they very eloquently explain, toxic masculinity and all the reasons why men who consider themselves straight interact with them, but then oftentimes interactions result in violence because
mhm,
of fear. And I mean, I can't. I mean, I obviously can't relate to that being a trans woman, but I can certainly relate to a very small percentage of just feeling like afraid because of who I am, that I can't help, and knowing that I could be confronted with that at any moment,
mhm.
but certainly not at that level. So I just, the amount of strength it takes to
I think people
live
don't.
authentically like these women do, and to even be able to articulate, like, I'm afraid, I know
Mhm.
that acts of violence are around the corner potentially. I mean, that's just like, it's just inhumane that we all just sit around and turn a blind eye to a lot of things.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel kind of hopeless sometimes. Like, I don't know what needs to happen. I don't know how many mass shootings need to occur, how
Oh,
many black trans
God.
women need to be murdered. Like, the list goes on and on. And what changes? I feel like it just,
There has been change. There has been progress made, but it's just,
yeah, but we swing back and forth. It's like
yeah.
things get hopeful, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're in Florida, we're gonna take uh trans children away from their adoptive parents. Like,
Mhm.
oh God, why that like that's what we want? And I know why politicians do that, to scare
Well,
people and get their attention, but it's like it causes so much harm.
it does cause a lot of harm, but it also means that s- it's not that I like to see regression, but it's there are so many things that still need to happen, and it's only going to happen when people get riled up enough to care. Also, it's kind of like abortion now. Again, I think for decades we felt comfortable, like we'd conquered that, and now look what's happened. So
Sure. But even if you care, I feel like a lot of people who do care feel paralyzed. Like, okay, I care, but what am I supposed to do? It bothers me that this is happening. I don't think it's right, but what am I supposed to do? Like,
I don't know. It sounds simple, but just being kind, just going out there and being kind and caring and being aware. Like I just saw Dominique Jackson posted something on Instagram that really bothered me. It's this young trans person sobbing in their car and because they were in some store like CVS and overheard some stupid fucking woman like being sounding incredibly transphobic from whatever they were saying, and this person got so upset that they and felt guilty that they couldn't defend themselves and was unsure of how to deal, like hadn't confronted that kind of just bold violent hatred. And I think that happens to all of us is when it's when it's directed at us specifically and how paralyzing that is. We need to be out there helping each other for things that don't pertain to us per se.
I agree.
And I
Uh,
think that that is where it starts. It's like we have to start caring about other people. And when you see something, doing something, not putting yourself in harm's way, but it's like I can imagine if somebody else besides this trans person in this CVS or wherever it was heard this woman saying, like, shut the fuck up. Just shut the
or
fuck
not
up.
even that. I mean, I don't advocate. I mean, I wouldn't recommend people get confrontational. I think,
Well, again, don't put yourself in harm's
staying in
way.
line with your comment about kindness. I think offering, a hug or a pat on the back or letting someone know you see them, and try to cancel out, that does go a long way. But I think that many people do care, and they do engage in acts of kindness, but I'm definitely a more negative person. Like, I'm definitely half glass empty or glass half empty. So to me, it feels like, well, what is that going to do? Like I will do it, but nothing changes. So I feel like a lot of people probably become complacent because
But you have to think you don't know what somebody's going through, and sometimes it's just a little act of kindness of seeing somebody that's like that can that can save somebody from doing harm to
I
themselves or
agree.
others. And I'm not saying go out there and be a saint or take things on because we're all it's fuck, life's overwhelming, and you can't take on everything. But I'm saying if you have the energy, if you have the strength, I don't know, like I'm the type that I will say some shit, but again,
Well, I definitely don't recommend that. Do not be confrontational. I think you can take that energy and be kind, and instead of put energy into the negative portion of the equation, offer kindness to the one being hurt. So I definitely agree with that. I'm just saying, if the question is why does this continue, I think part of the answer is people just become complacent, and it's not because they don't care. It just feels overwhelming. Like there are too many things, you know.
because it is overwhelming.
And then you want to yell at me because I posted about cow's milk. It's like, so that's what you're mad about? The
Oh
cow's
god.
milk? Like,
Oh
I
my
posted a
god.
meme about cow's milk and I got some nasty comments. Like, oh god,
Really?
yeah, because it was something like y'all snort cocaine and are alcoholics, but you draw the line at cow's milk, and then it's like, well, that's not funny. Those are serious issues, and like, oh god, okay,
Oh,
well,
there's also
like,
it's also
I thought the shit was funny, and it's true. Some of y'all out here a cesspool of disease
mhm,
and don't sleep, smoke cigarettes. I've watched you do drugs, and then it's like, oh, you shouldn't eat hot tamales. The refined bitch, shut the fuck up.
mhm.
Like, I mean, this doesn't make any goddamn sense. But anyway, we'll take a break and come back with the secret movie. All right. The secret film this week was my choice. And this is a selection that someone recommended that shot up to the top of my list because I when they mentioned it, I couldn't believe that I had never thought to make this my secret film.
Mhm.
It's the 2002 American romantic comedy drama film Juwanna
Is
Man,
that really what it's credited as? Oh my god.
directed by Jesse Vaughn. I don't know. Has Jesse Vaughn done anything else?
Jesse Vaughn, yeah, they have done something else, but previous to this, did a lot of music videos. I know for like Brownstone and
Oh, I love Brownstone.
yeah, I'm trying to think of who. Oh, In Sync,
Okay. Well, anyway,
some In Living Color episodes.
it stars Miguel A. Nunez Jr., Vivica Fox, Kevin Pollak, Tommy Davidson, Kim Wayans, Genuine's in it, Little
Hmm.
Kim's in it. The the story is super basic. Miguel Nunez plays a professional basketball player who's like a bad boy, which ends up getting him suspended from the league indefinitely. And then he loses everything.
Hmm.
And they make it seem like it happens in like 24 hours.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. But he gets inspired by watching some young people playing basketball that he's going to basically like I wouldn't say he's dressing up in drag. He's doing like female impersonation
Hmm.
to get a contract with the women's professional basketball league.
Hmm.
And he does. And he becomes a star. It's very predictable
It's also very overnight.
because he basically learns how to not be an asshole
Yeah.
and not selfish, and through that becomes a star. But then it all culminates with the final big game for the women's basketball team he's on. He's like doing a slam dunk and his wig falls off, and somehow everyone in the world didn't recognize that Jamal Jeffries or that Juwan, because the character's name as a woman is Juwanna Mann.
Hmm.
No one recognized that Juwanna Mann is actually Jamal Jeffries. But when that wig falls off, they're like, no. And then, of course, there's a backlash. And then there's like a 5 minute, moment where things aren't going well. But then he decides he's going to go back and apologize. And then he goes back to the commission and they
Hmm.
realize he's learned his lesson. So now he gets to play professional men's basketball again.
And he's also found love.
And he's found love with one of his female basketball team members, Vivica Fox. Um, this movie is terribly reviewed, and I don't think it's that bad.
It's not
It's
that
not
bad.
good, but it's not as bad as people make it seem. I don't think.
I feel like Miguel Nunez's career would have gone a lot differently had this been a success.
So initially, I really didn't care for him. I think we were both kind of like, ugh. But then maybe like a third of the way through, once he gets into his drag,
Then it's kind of funny.
then it's kind of funny because he kind of. Let's start with who we thought he looked
Oh
like
my god, it was
because
because
I
he
thought he looked like Gail King, but then you said, and
I
this sent me, you said he looked like Stacey Dash's mom.
yeah, he looked like Stacey Dash Mama, or like a mix of Stacey Dash and Tyra Banks. Um, And then another person I kept thinking it was Lynn Thigpen from Where in the World is Carmen
Yes, that's
Sandiego?
right. So he actually, you know, I don't
I
I'm
didn't
sure people, would rip it apart as being problematic. I actually didn't think it was that, because it's not about him. A lot of the stereotypes and jokes that you would assume would be in the movie aren't. I mean, there are like, you know, I don't know, it's a little more sensitive.
it's funny because you watch things from the early 90s talking about like trans or gay things in disparaging ways, and watching like something like Juwanna Mann or The Hot Chick with Rob Schneider, it's like you could tell that the writers were trying to convey some positivity, because
Yes.
there's a scene, I don't think it works well, but it's interesting, where he gets pulled over.
Oh, we should talk about that. But yeah, I think it's more palatable because Juwanna Mann is not meant to be trans, or Jamal Jeffries is not gay. Like, this character of Juwanna Mann it's kind of like Mrs. Doubtfire, like it's a means to an end.
Or Tootsie,
Yeah, it
or Sorority Boys.
and the romance. I mean, I think one of the funniest characters is Tommy Davidson's character. He
Mhm,
plays like a rapper who's in love with Joanna Man.
mhm.
And so of course that's like, well, the joke is that this guy is in love with a woman who's really a man. But the jokes aren't necessarily like,
Well, you know
how
what
can
it
he not tell? And even in the end, when he realizes Joanna Man is Jamal Jeffries, he still says, I still love you.
which is very much like the end of Some Like It Hot, when Jack Lemmon reveals that he's a man in that little boat, and the guy says, "Well, nobody's perfect."
You know, I used to work I used to work in a salon that played movies. And so we got to pick the movies, and we only had like 30 on rotation, but one of them was Some Like It Hot
Mhm.
and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. Uh there are several, but it's funny that you mentioned that movie because I think I've seen that movie 100 times and I don't remember anything except the end.
Sugar, sugar.
um
Jack Lemmon is so good.
I'm just going to go through my notes. So Jamal Jeffries, Miguel Nunez's character, is just like, I mean, he's just a caricature of like a pro athlete who's just about women and spending money. And the opening scene is him driving to work to like the stadium in his H1 Hummer, and the Hummer has like a portrait of him on the front, like instead of a
Mhm.
license plate.
Mhm.
I thought that is something these people would do. But initially, I think we were thrown off because Miguel Nunez doesn't look like he would play professional basketball.
No,
He's not tall enough. He just, he,
which is why they make a point to show somebody smaller than him on the court.
and then, yes, there's another player who is much shorter. So it's like that actor must have been like 5'4"
There
then.
is no
There's no
way
way he
you are
could
playing
play.
professional
Because I
basketball.
think a short basketball player would be someone who's like 6'2", 6'3". And then the problem is they do have basketball players who are taller in the movie, so it just seems really off. But speaking of how Joanna Man looks, I think she actually looks like a lady.
Mhm.
The problem for me was she looks old.
Yeah,
She looks like she'd be in her late I mean, like my age old, like too old to play professional basketball.
mhm.
I think that's why it looked weird.
She looks like somebody who'd be in her Kamala Harris era.
Yeah. Or DMV employee era.
Oh no, the hair's not that bad, is it?
I think it is. Her hair looks like oh, who's the actor uh in the movie Friday, Ice Cube's mom? You know what I'm talking about? She's
Uh
also in the TV show Amen with Sherman Hemsley,
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
and she has a really
She's in a
funny.
ton of Anna Maria Horsford, is
Yes,
right? Okay.
Joanna Min's hair is like Anna Maria Horsford's hair in Friday,
Oh God.
so
Okay.
it like it's very
What do
businesswoman.
we just see her in, where she played a social worker that swoops in and takes kid?
Yes, yeah, yeah. What did we see her in? Um, So everything happens very quickly. Once, like, we're at Jamal Jeffrey's house and he's having a big party, like all these women, even though little Kim is there as his girlfriend, mad. And then we see on the news that he's been suspended indefinitely. And literally, as soon as the news says he's been suspended, everyone at the party walks out.
Mhm.
Like, wow. And then we get like a little 5-minute moment where he loses everything. And
Mhm.
then he even makes a comment that makes it seem like he went bankrupt in a couple of days.
He's like, "I've had a rough day."
Yeah, he goes, "I've had a rough day." But like, so yeah, you went bankrupt in like 3 days. I don't know.
And
There
that
is a funny line though. His business manager's like
Kevin Pollak. Mhm.
telling him he's broke, and Jamal goes, "Chapter 11. What happened to the first 10 chapters?"
There's another funny line because Kevin Pollak's at one point is like, "This is blackmail." It's like, "No, it's not. It's black female."
Yeah, that was funny. Um, the jokes,
Well,
they're not where they need to be. An
right.
example would be, so Jennifer Lewis, ha, is in it, and
As Aunt Ruby or something.
and the same character in every movie she's ever been in, but and she's never quite right because she looks too good and she's too young to be Jamal's
She
auntie.
does look too good, and she's with these other old ladies, and it's like Jennifer Lewis is still kind of pop. Like she looks
Yeah,
good.
they're all playing cards, and then it's like Jennifer Lewis looks like half the age of the women she's playing with. But speaking of jokes that don't work, one of the ladies is like, "Ooh, this bra! Like, I got to take this bra off." So you see this old lady take her bra off like through her shirt, and then when she takes it off, first of all, not only does it look like she's still wearing a bra, but we can see that she's still wearing a bra.
Yeah,
And I just thought, oh, these jokes are flat like that. Like the
yeah.
obvious joke would be that when she takes her bra off, her breasts go down to her knees or her
Mhm.
lap. So I think eh, the film really only works because within this film there are only two actors who are very strong comedic actors, Tommy Davidson and Kim Wayans,
Mhm.
and those two are funny.
Well, yeah, because if you see Kim Wayans in the background,
She's always mugging,
she out.
and it's funny. So I think that's the problem with the film is that everyone else, like little Kim, is pointless. I mean, she
Yeah.
looks great minus her hair. Look like an
Mhm.
orange popsicle, but um yeah, the jokes just aren't there. Kevin Pollak to me is funny,
He's funny. Mhm.
but then I had a
But it's very much like Vivica, who looks great, has except for that one leopard print dress she's wearing with that ugly red trim.
yeah, from the Michelle Visage
Oh
collection.
my god. But it's very much like the Jessica Lange character in Tootsie, where it's just like you're just this love interest, and that's all you really are.
Yeah, Vivica doesn't have much to do. And it's also kind of like, how can you not tell that this, if, because Vivica's character thinks that Juwanna Mann is a woman, how can she not see that this woman is like attracted to her?
Right.
And then, and that's fine. She can have a lesbian friend because the other ladies on the team are probably lesbians
Kim
too.
Wayans, I would bet, was supposed to be a lesbian.
Right. But so it's not about that, but it's about like she's also like staying in the same room with her and letting her rub lotion on her. Like, why would you do that if you know this woman is clearly infatuated with you?
Mhm.
But of course, there are the obvious scenes. Like, there's a point when Vivica takes Joanna to a spa day. So, of course, her trying to not reveal that she's a woman, which actually they don't play it for that as much as like Vivica's getting a massage from a beautiful woman. So Joanna's all excited, like, oh, a beautiful woman's going to massage her. But then it turns out to be this big burly man.
Mhm.
Um, but I think probably the most interesting scene is Joanna Man's late for a flight. So she is like driving like a madman, and a cop pulls her over. And initially you think, oh boy, she's going to have to start flirting with the cop. And the joke's going to be that the cop is attracted to this, you know, cross
Or it's
dresser
gonna be Officer Dullard in Tu Wong Fu.
or something like that. But they flip the script because the cop, it turns out, is in the process of transitioning. It doesn't work because the cop looks like,
He started transitioning today.
yeah, like I kind of wish they would have made the cop like, when he takes off his glasses and helmet, it's obvious that maybe he's started hormones or something,
Sure.
but it's also 2002.
Uh-huh.
It's just that the man who played the cop looked very like, oh, like
You
this
wouldn't
must be,
expect it. Yeah.
yeah, like I kind of wish that it would have been a little more obvious, but that was a pleasant surprise that the cops, like, because he makes Joanna Mann get out of the car, and initially you think, oh, he's checking her out, like checking out the goods,
Mhm.
which he is, but he's doing it because she tells him, I've had surgery to transition. So he's looking at her work like, oh wow, I'm about to get my surgery. Your
Mhm.
doctor did a great
He
job. Like,
says like something like I'm $1,000 out. I'm like,
yeah,
oh,
he's like, I'm still $1,000
oh,
away. Like,
okay.
yeah. But I thought that was interesting.
It was.
I'm sure people would have issue with it, but
Well, yeah, again, it doesn't work, and it certainly doesn't feel well researched. But
you know what else doesn't work? One of the women on the team Juwanna Mann's playing on is a character. I think her name's Magda.
oh, that she's like supposed
She's
to be
from Serbia or
Serbia or something.
something. She can't act.
No.
That poor thing.
Oh, the film where Anna Maria Horsford we just watched, Set It Off, because she's the one that swoops in and takes Kimberly
Oh, and
Elise's
takes
kid.
Kimberly Elise's baby. Yeah. Um, Kim Wayans,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm assuming her character is supposed to be a lesbian, but she's also acting very mannish, as my dad would say. Like, is I think hilarious.
Yes, she's very
Because
funny.
anytime you see her, even when the camera's not focused on her, she's being funny.
Mm-hmm.
We watched this on Tubi.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there were commercials.
Yeah.
There was a T-Mobile commercial featuring John Travolta,
And Zach Braff and
the other guy from Scrubs,
Faison,
Faison,
Donald Faison.
Donald Faison. That was very
Unnecessary.
I felt like I was having a bad trip. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it looks like things that shouldn't be mashed together and people that look a little worse for wear.
I didn't like that. But
Same.
getting back to something I liked, Tommy Davidson is this rapper. So he goes on like a double date because Vivica's character is dating the singer Genuine,
Mm-hmm.
who's playing like a popular R&B singer in the movie, and they go on a double date. I thought that was probably the funniest scene in the movie is Juwanna on the date with Tommy Davidson. And he's all excited and she's so mean to him.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, Tommy Davidson is polishing his gold teeth. I thought that was really funny. But Juwanna gets really drunk.
Scrimps.
Yeah. Juwanna gets really drunk to tolerate the date, and she has to go pee. And so she stumbles into the men's restroom
And kicks off her heels.
kicks off those heels and stands at the urinal and is burping and farting. And I thought that was so funny. And I know people would think it's problematic now, but it just felt very honest. Like, because I think what also makes it kind of work is Jamal Jeffries doesn't seem concerned about dressing as a woman.
Right.
Like, he's not making like his character's not trying to do things to prove he's a man. Like, we pretty much only ever see him dressed as a woman once he starts.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he doesn't do things like, ooh, gross, don't look at me, or
Mm-hmm.
so I think I appreciate that in 2002 they didn't go out of their way to make that sort of the butt of the joke. The problem is they didn't bother to write any other jokes.
Yeah. Again, it's not a great film, but it wasn't. And of course, it's not something as deliriously strange as like Pootie Tang from the same period.
No. At the end, when Jamal gets to play for the men's team again, the announcer's like, the only man who has played for men's and women's professional leagues. I thought that was funny. And then this movie has the distinction of having the weirdest end credit bloopers I've ever seen, because
They weren't really
they
bloopers.
weren't really bloopers, but then there were some sprinkled in. So I don't know if they thought these were funny, because they weren't funny either.
I don't know.
Yeah, if anyone has watched the end credits and remembers, please comment, because I just didn't understand what the purpose was of
Just pat out something to put on the credits,
something to put in the credits.
I guess.
I like the soundtrack.
Sure.
It's very 2002.
It is.
But overall, what would you give this movie?
2.
I would give it 2 out of 5. I think it's, it it'd be okay on an airplane, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not funny enough to have like, I'll put it on in the background because it won't catch your attention. But
It maybe I haven't watched Mrs. Doubtfire in years, so maybe want to rewatch that. Or Tootsie, I could watch it.
I know I like Tootsie.
Yeah,
But yeah, I need to rewatch Mrs. Doubtfire.
but all of these films have that problem with they get into the good graces of the female lead, and then after the reveal, they still a relationship is possible. I would have. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't delve into.
Like, I knew you as a woman,
I
and
knew you
now
as a
you're,
woman.
and you knew I said things to you that were very emotionally vulnerable that I wouldn't have said to you.
The story doesn't make sense on many levels, but I was surprised that I wasn't more bothered by it, and
Sure.
that there are moments that I do think are fun, and yeah, but no, it's not a good movie. What do we have coming up this week?
Oh, several many things. There's well, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I don't know if that you're seeing that with me though.
No, because I'm going to Universal Studios that day, so it'll depend on how tired I am.
So probably
Because the
not.
screening is in Burbank, so it's not that far away from
That's
Universal
true.
Studios. We'll
Uh,
see.
so there's that. There's the big George Foreman movie.
The Black Demon,
Well, we already saw it. So
but that video is coming
yeah,
out.
Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Um, RMN, and we have to watch Master Gardener this week,
Okay.
which I'm very excited for you to see.
Well, that's all I have. Do you have anything else you want to say?
And then we're recording.
Oh, in a couple of hours, we're recording. Well, my episode of Bad Game Movies, Bitchy Gay Men comes out tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll share that link. I'm cringing thinking about how it turned out because I had the amount of technical issues I had during that recording is profound. Like,
Profound.
yeah. So I don't know how Bill is going. He said it wasn't that difficult to edit, but it was painful to get through. So I hope I'm still a delight, but I'll share it no matter what. And then in a couple of hours, we're recording our episode of the DSM podcast,
Mm-hmm.
Diagnosing Sitcoms and Movies podcast. I
Mm-hmm.
won't say what the movie is yet, but um, I hope that'll be fun. I'm nervous.
You'll be fine. You'll be a delight.
uh, but that's all. Ta ta.
Bye.